People will get enough of this.
Do a quick recap of what you just said.
Hey, I'm Abraham, and I started I started Odyssey Works 25 years ago, and 5 years ago with my co-founder Aidan LaRue. She and I started the Experience Design Certificate Program after a couple of years of experimentation with different elements of the program before we were able to roll it out in its totality. So 25 years ago, we started building large scale transformative experiences for very small audiences. That is to say, audiences of one. We have a book about this. Um, you know, and it was a long project. It was not a profitable idea, but it was an experiment in making artwork in a radically different way. And there were no words for it. People called it performance art or theater. We didn't have a name for it either. Nobody knew the term experience design or even immersive when we first started doing it. But what it actually was for the decade and a half before we started the certificate, the 2 decades before we started the certificate program, was a laboratory for the development of experience design principles. And we were studying what it is to create the conditions to affect people with your work. The main thing that we discovered from the very beginning is that if you're interested in making experiences, you're going to be working interdisciplinarily. That is just how it's going to be. And that is why our program reflects this. We are not an immersive theater program. We are not an academic program. We are not a theoretical program. We are not a religious studies program. We are all of these things because what we're interested in is the design of human experience, and that happens in myriad ways. When we were Odyssey Works and just creating these experiences, they were day-long, week-long, even months-long experiences for one-person audiences, and they changed people's lives universally. So in 2016, we wrote a book about that work, and you can find it on the internet if you want it. It's actually out of print, but it's still out there. And it goes over that history. It's about 15 years of that history. And then in 2023, I published this book from Yale University Press, Experience Design, a Participatory Manifesto. This text is the primary textbook for our program. If you've read it already, you're ahead on your homework. Our work, of course, is no longer just about performances for audiences of one. We have the Long Architecture Project, which is an experience design-based architecture practice. We have other works such as the online project, the Book of Separation. We do consulting and design work for a lot of different organizations. Right now, we're working on a project in North Carolina to create a new retreat center for humanitarian aid leaders and working on activations of films, all kinds of different stuff. It's really eclectic, but what all of our projects share is this desire to work inside the mechanics of human experience. Over the past 10 years, we've had thousands of students attend our programs. We've had workshops and master class, which is actually happening. Can you believe it, Siobhan? Next week. Which is kind of scrambling my brain to think that's about to happen in Greece. And of course, we've also had a design incubator and of course the certificate program. We've had folks from more fields than we care to list, from immersive theater to marketing, architecture, education, graphic design, cybersecurity. And this breadth is central to the way we've developed the practices of experience design. Simply put, we understand experience design to be a methodology in which the final product is the experience, the subjective experience of the user or the audience, guest, whatever, rather than the thing that is created. This is what unifies all of our work, right? And I'll continue reading here. We have immersive theater makers, experiential marketers, installation artists who often think of themselves as experience designers, but experience designers can be found in a wide variety of practices, from installation art to edutech, from human resources to religious practice, from social design to political activism. Experience design is the practice of placing the emotional and the affective at the center of the design process, instead of the thing, the material, the stuff, right? Where traditional design is complete when the thing is shipped, they say, when the thing is produced. Experience design comes to life in the lived subjective experience of the audience. So if you wish to think this way, which is to say away from the space of fixed disciplines toward a space of impact, then this is the right place, right? We're looking for people who are good at what they do, right? And there's another reason we have to leave academia, right? We want early, mid-career individuals who are passionate about making, but maybe feel that their field could work in a little bit of a different way. We're looking for people who are hardworking and disciplined, because this is a really intense program, and would like to explore with a new community of like-minded individuals. So maybe you're a graphic designer, an architect, or an urban planner, or whatever, wishing you could begin with the effect of your work rather than with the brief. Maybe you make immersive experiences or audio experiences and you'd like to offer more than spectacle. Maybe you develop communities and you'd like to begin your process from the life of that community rather than the structure. Or maybe you're a teacher or a marketer or a museum person, whatever, and you already consider yourself an experienced designer, but you want to go deeper. You're who we want. We're looking to build a diverse cohort of individuals who can work together with the common aim of designing experiences instead of things. So we're about halfway through now our 5th cohort. Really brilliant folks. Some of you have met some of them, I imagine. And maybe it would be helpful for you to hear from some of our students. These are just 4 of the 15 people from our inaugural cohort. We probably have to make a new version of this. I'm actually going to reshare. Just give me 1 sec. Okay. So that you can hear the sound. Here it is. Let me know if you can't hear it.
Everything is experience design. It's blowing my mind.
Experience design to me is a method of opening up, thinking about what you want to create for an audience or a user or a participant. So if you're thinking, here's what I want someone to feel, here's what I want someone to experience, and then working backward from there in a kind of discipline agnostic way.
I felt like this approach to creating your art with a sense of empathy for the people experiencing it was really going to help make the changes that were necessary.
I was really interested in the certificate program because of the lens of empathy. I was also really attracted to applying experience design in other disciplines as well. So I was pretty interested in the interdisciplinary aspect of being able to meet people who work in different areas, be it gaming or tech or design, and sort of bringing us all together. And that's been very exciting and rewarding.
This is not UX, this is not XD. This is artists and designers and community leaders and makers in diverse disciplines who want to learn how to create the experience rather than just the thing.
It's low residency, but it's absolutely about community. And we built the program that way because to design the experience of another, you have to be in relationship and you have to begin with empathy.
Experience design is not some proprietary practice in a specific field. It's a way of making immersive theater or architecture or lesson plans or museum exhibits, families, religions, anything really. It's a way of making in which you start with the experience you wish to create and work backwards from there.
Odyssey Works has spent more than 2 decades designing transformative experiences, and learning itself is a transformative experience. So the program is just 10 months and it's intense, and it has to be intense if we're going to change the way that things are done.
My favorite kind of part of the toolkit that I've taken so far is just the different ways of looking at phase 0 of an experience, thinking about something first from what do I want, my audience to experience? And therefore, what am I going to get? The different ways of looking at world building, the different ways of looking at narratives, so sort of just the process. And then I would also say, related to the idea of like iterating quickly, just the idea of like, let me try out a tool and see if it's going to work. So let me check out if Twine, which I had never used before, is going to like do something useful for me.
There are structures and rules, but we can also break them creatively.
Since joining, my mind has just been like vastly, like I've exploded with so many ideas and so many tools and different and new vocabulary that I've learned.
I've had more vocabulary to and like a bigger set of a toolkit to play with. I've got to meet incredible like-minded creatives.
And what is our experiential aim? What are we really getting at here?
I mean, it's something that is so expansive, and the composition of the group that they've put together, I think, is great because everybody sort of complements each other very well. There are places where you can go, you know, this for this thing, let me check and see what so and so has to say. You know, that because that's kind of where they live. And
what originally interested me in the certificate was the opportunity to have some structure around exploring experience design, to have these little assignments that you have to create fairly quickly. The cohort that's people with very different artistic backgrounds or just backgrounds of different kinds of practices coming together. It's been really wonderful to see people's different processes, the way people work.
Was really to tap into this international community of experience design developers and kind of learn about what people are doing in other places and to make those connections and build those relationships.
People about their worlds and their creative lives and other things of their experience. I felt that I was able to realize through this program, but I'm also able to realize it through my work as an educator, administrator, community organizer. But the idea of empathy, to have a sensitivity and a respect for what it means to them, very personally and professionally.
I would recommend it to anybody who's actually interested in working and creating for the live interactive industry.
I would recommend this program for anyone who is looking to kind of be shaken out of your normal way of thinking and to open up your process, whatever area that's in, to different tools, different perspectives, a way of looking at what you create that is very centered on the impact that it's going to have on the audience member or the user or the participant.
There's so much richness in this experience design program that can just be applied to so many different career paths and concepts.
Oh.
Everything is
So we got to update that video. We're working on it. It's not our top priority, but you get the picture. Does it make you nostalgic or kind of re-traumatize you for the pandemic, seeing everybody with their masks on? I don't know. Anyway, all right, let me go into the details. Siobhan and I were just talking today about how we could redo that video. We actually have been doing all the interviews. So there are 3 parts of our program. There's an accelerator, a research session, and an incubator session. And we bracket the program by 2 in-person intensives, and there is one more in-person gathering with multiple options for which one that could be throughout the year. So you gather 3 times with your cohort in person. The rest of the program is online weekly sessions. So the accelerator session begins with an in-person intensive in residence outside of, not in a city. This year we were in Cragsmore, New York. Next year we're actually thinking we're going to move somewhere warmer, like Arizona. And so we're doing our research, and we're pretty close to settling on a new location for our our first intensive. That is an intensive where we are all living together and going through the sort of initiation together. Here's a walkthrough of the program, and I'm happy to answer more questions about this. But essentially, you begin with the first intensive, where you just kick off the ideas that are that we're going to be working with all year. And then here in this accelerator portion, you go through the pedagogy. If you've read that experience design book, you know what's in it, right? And there's phase 0, there's framing, there's world building, there's interactive narrative, all kinds of things. And we go through it quite quickly, and we do several different projects, a project essentially for each topic. A lot of those projects are quick 1-week projects. We have 2 longer ones, a world building project, which is collaborative. And then we have this professional impact challenge, which is a portfolio project number 1. Right, so there's 2 portfolio projects in the program. Portfolio project number 1, which is in the spring, which our students have recently completed, and portfolio project number 2, which is a solo project, which is presented in New York at the end of the year. So that first project is one thing that we've evolved quite a bit over the 5 years of the program. We bring in a challenge, we bring in a brief from an outside organization. And that brief, groups work in teams. They're generally impact organizations. So we've worked with the World Wildlife Fund, with the Museum for the UN, the Biomimicry Institute, Placecapades, all around different topics. And they bring briefs, and some of those briefs are projects they're actually looking for, and sometimes they actually pursue development of student projects, but most of the student projects are simply there to respond to the brief and to have something put in your portfolio that is a project for the Museum for the UN or for the WWF, right? These are legitimate projects for those clients that you can say that you've done. And so that's the spring. At the end of the spring, we have our presentations, guests come in, and we have multiple feedback sessions. And then we transition to summer, which is where our students in our current cohort currently are. The summer is a lived research session. Lived research is research into the topics that are most interesting to the students, right? If you're going to research in a traditional academic way, you go to the library and you see what people have written about it. If you're going to research experience, you have to go and have experiences, right? Like there's sort of no way around it. And so lived research, there are books. You read books and you go and interview people, and but at the center of the practice is developing an itinerary for yourself to go and experience things based on a question that you develop in conversation with us over the course of a month. What is the driving central question that you have about the design of experience? And here's the thing about experience design. It is an emergent field. And that means that the answers are out there to be discovered. There is no final best practices for this right now. And that is a very exciting thing. So when our students are out there doing lived research, they are developing the field, right? The general idea is by the time when you get to lived research, you're beyond us. You've transcended us. We've given you all the information we have. And now you're out there learning something totally new, totally different. You may be researching social impact games, or you may be researching augmented reality, or you may be researching slowness, or you may be researching kindness, or you may be researching radical community design, right? It runs the gamut, and I don't even know what the gamut is, right? It is as vast as you can possibly imagine. It is limited only by your clarity, right? And we work very hard on developing a pretty rigorous lived research proposal, but it's your lived research project, right? And some of the things that are in your lived research are things you would be doing already, right? Going and experiencing things, but now they're done through the lens of the question that is driving you, probably the question that you have coming into this session right here, right? Pass through the filter of all the ideas in the spring, and then into the into the summer. It's a really exciting part of the program. And through the summer, you have pod check-ins. You check in with there's a pod check-in happening right this second. They are meeting and talking about where they're going. These are designed experiences. People take turns designing how those check-ins will go. And you have a check-in with a faculty member as well along the way. During the year, when you're not on lived research, all of our work is very clearly, simply developed. We have our weekly sessions, we have our assignments, we have this thing called the student portal. It is custom built just for this course. It is not Canvas or any other one of these online education programs, which is like complicated and doesn't make sense. It is very simple. You connect to the portal, you submit your work, you see what is assigned, what assignments are due today, what assignments are due next week. Straightforward and proprietary. And then over the summer or other times of the year, we have a third gathering, right? It's optional. So this year, a bunch of us went to the World Experience Organization, and that was an optional gathering. There were about 40 of us who gathered for dinner, which was really fun. And we also went to the conference. I'm going next weekend to Miami to give a talk at a conference down there. That's a gathering some people are going to. There, you are required to attend one extra gathering. It doesn't matter which one it is. And there's another gathering called the Family Reunion, which is one we put on. We have this island. It has room for about 28 people. It's sort of unconference meets vacation meets offsite. It's the only relaxed thing we do. You show up, you can swim, you could present, you could play test, you could just cook, you could just go to the sauna, whatever. It's just a time of community building, thinking together, and honesty and transparency, right? Like you don't have to, when you go to a big conference, you're trying to be something. When you come to the family reunion, you can be yourself. Like we have hotshot people doing big productions, right? That you have to, that at other events you'd brag about. We had somebody come and talk about a $10 million immersive theater show that she did that didn't work out. And she gave a talk on what went wrong, something you would not want to do in other professional circumstances, but it was really lovely for us to have that in conversation here. But there are people who come, they just don't go to any sessions, and they hang out. And we cook together and we have a good time. It fills up. It's full right now. There's a waiting list. But it's for anybody who's been to any of our programs, so you don't have to have been in the certificate program. In the fall, we pick up again in what is essentially personal and professional practice. The end state of the fall is certification. And right before that, presentation at the New Frame in New York City. We have this place called 100 Sutton. It's in Greenpoint, big film studio. People build out their installations, and we open it to the public. We sell tickets. People come. It's always a good time. And, so there's some anywhere between 20 and 30 people in the program. Most of the people make it to the end. And then they build out their installations. A few people do projects back home or somewhere else. Maybe their project is better. Maybe they're better served doing a project that's a retreat, a rural retreat, and then they give a presentation about it. Others develop installations that happen at New Frame, or they present something else they've done. Most people do installations at New Frame, right? And this is your second portfolio project, your second experience design. It's wildly eclectic. Along the way, we have various different check-ins, we have workshops, we have guest critics come in, we have various different stages along the way of developing your artist statement, of working on specific things that might be relevant to you. We bring in set designers to talk to you about that. If that's your thing, if it's not your thing, you don't go to that. And we have also professional and personal practice pathway here as well. So we bring in a number of professional practice panelists who talk about very specifically about different professional practice pathways, such as grant writing and developing things via investment, building out an agency, things like that, with very specific pathways for building your professional life, but also personal practice as an artist, as a designer. Sometimes, once in a while, we'll bring in a lecturer, but like your life is pretty full with us already, so there's not a lot of time for that. And then we're certified, and then you're just part of our community, and most people stay in touch. They come back for a reunion. They come, they come to meet us at a conference. They come to New Frame. A lot of previous students show up at New Frame because they're really excited to be part of the community. The whole point is not that this is a program you go through, get certified, and move on with your life. I mean, we do want you to move on with your life, but also that we remain a community of conversation, development, and practice of trying to figure out how to work in a more meaningful way together. We have a number of sub-organizations that have developed. One is about developing transformative experiences for children. Another is we have a foundation of a nonprofit, and in that nonprofit there's also an organization focused on climate that is thinking about experience design climate, another one thinking about experience design for AI futures. So there are lots of ways that the community is growing. Several people are out there giving talks, and we come and we support each other, and then we remain in conversation on our Discord and in real life. The New Frame is in New York. This is one of the posters for it. Here's a review that we had. Zach Morris is one of our is from Third Rail Projects. He talks about what we're doing, blurring the lines between theater, experience design, all kinds of stuff. I want to talk about some of the projects that we have. Here was a game that part of one of the collaborative projects developed about these creatures who live in the Pacific garbage patch and the challenge of dealing with that, and how could a game help us understand that. Here's a project called Split Weather, which is actually ongoing, and this is from several years ago, but the team is still working on it. It was a spring project where they were trying to create experiences to help people understand and relate to differently the plastics in our ocean and in our food supply, et cetera. It was an adventure series that they're working on developing, getting funding for now, and having a whole set of these. It's grown quite a bit. Our partners, Placecapades, WWF, Biomimicry Institute, Museum for the UN. I'm not saying that that's who will be our partners next year, but we had a great experience with these folks, with a number of them this year, and I think we'll probably bring at least a couple of them back if they'll be willing to come back. And then people develop certain responses to these. This was the WWF response, right? This team, Kazemi Houdini and Bern Kazudo developed an experience that took place in the Carpathians in Romania for funders to go and have a totally different relationship to the woods, to the communities there, based on this adventure that they developed for them with all these different deliverables. Other people do projects that involve newspapers or toxic workplaces built in various different online platforms such as Gather. This was a project called the Joy Box that was developed for New Frame by Haley Jordan in Baltimore, and she, those little libraries, little free libraries that pop up, at least in the United States, where there's a box and people put in books and then take out books. Well, Haley's a designer in Baltimore and a community organizer. And she said, well, what if those were actually sites of community development? And instead of book exchange, you actually had people staying to play. And so she developed these and installed them around Baltimore. And it became a center of the community and started cohering her neighborhood together in really interesting ways. Krishnan, who's now faculty in the program, developed this thing called Nature Nostalgia as AI enhanced experience, and it's been developing as well. Actually, the same idea, the same core team has been working for the past several years. And when I've been going and giving keynotes at various different conferences, they come and they do installations that tie in with my keynotes. This was an experience around AI and how could we bring a sense of the sacred to our relationship with AI so that we don't end up in this kind of diminished sense of self that AI threatens us with. Krishnan is a major part of the AI think tank around experience design, ethical AI. Toba Khalifa, for instance, developed the Grief publication, which was a box. She's a community organizer in Edmonton, Alberta, and was around a lot of Muslim women who had lost children, developed this grief case that would travel from one woman to another. So kind of a silent tragedy that people didn't have a space to talk about, and it became a kind of a traveling museum, and she presented it at New Frame, but its life was really outside of New Frame. But she did develop ways that people could interact with it there. Margot Gray, who you saw in the video, developed the Citizens Action Brigade after playing every single social action game that there is in her lived research, and developed her own social action game, which is really fun, 80s themed, involved tapes and various different cards. We had an engineer in the program developed this hat that you wear that would give you biofeedback when you went around to the other projects. I mean, the number of the things people do are so wide and varied. It's amazing. We have a lot of guests who come and join our program, either as guest critics, lecturers, or faculty. We have designers. We have like Zach Morris, who's the head of Third Rail Projects. If you're an immersive theater person, Lynn Kang, who's an incredible designer at Dome Collective, won tons of awards. Tio DeHaan, who's famous ritual designer in the UK. Bob Groth, who used to be at Walt Disney, but now runs the Nomadic School of Wonder. So many others, incredible people. Okay. So I'd love to talk to you about them, but I don't want to spend forever walking through it. They're amazing people, and there are others as well. So I want to talk to you about what we're looking for in an application, because part of the design of our program is that it has to be small enough that our faculty know everybody really well. That is part of the reason we left academia, is this community focus. So we run every year 2 cohorts, a Tuesday and a Wednesday at different times, helpful for different time zones, of 10 to 15 people. And we try to pick a great cohort that will work together really well and bring diversity to the group in all different ways. We are looking for an application that reflects your seriousness of purpose and your capabilities within your field, as well as your capacity to think experientially. We know experience design is not already baked into the fields you may be involved in, right? And we are working to change that. And how are we working to change that? Through you, right? A lot of our people go back to the same places they were working at, and they say, we need to work in a new way. Melissa Carini, who's at the California Academy of Sciences and runs all their education there, and was just with us in London giving a talk, called me right after London, after she gave her talk, and said, okay, I finally convinced them. Now the California Academy of Sciences given me a new position to connect all exhibitions and education, gotten the raise, but also now I have the power to transform this place into an experience design forward organization. Incredible stuff. There are a few of you who already have experience designer job titles. We'd love to have you here. But more than anything, we're looking for really talented people from diverse worlds that maybe want to do things differently. So be honest in your application, be enthusiastic, look over our website, especially the what is experience design section, or if you have the experience design book, look at that. That's what we're doing, right? Review the proposals, subscribe to our newsletters. They have ideas that we're working with. They tell you our attitude, our ethos. We are not like other experience design programs. We have a very different point of view. We are very impact forward, and we are not limited like most other programs are to one specific field. And that's what sets us apart and tells us whether you're in the right place or the wrong place. Show us what you've done already and tell us where you'd like to take it. This is what we really want, right? This is the story we want to read. I'm hardworking. I'm enthusiastic about what I do, but I want to do it differently than it's currently done. A lot of people tell us they feel a little bit alone in their field, and they think there must be other people out there. That's where you're trying to get to, right? And if you can express this through your work sample links and the text of your application, you're in pretty good shape. So in terms of funding, we have a couple of different types of scholarships through the Odyssey Works Foundation. There are 2 full scholarships for BIPOC applicants. These are funded by a funder, and the only thing that applicants have to pay for is a deposit that they get back when they complete the program. And we also have a number of half and quarter scholarships for need-based applicants, right? These are competitive, and we're going to offer them to the best overall applicants who qualify by expressing their financial need. So this is the only thing. If you want to apply for the BIPOC scholarship, you do not have to do any extra form. You just literally just click the button. We are not going to do a DNA test on you. We are going to trust you because that is how we work. And then if you're applying for the need-based scholarship, this is it. This is all we need. We don't want your tax returns. We don't want to talk to your accountant or your mother-in-law. We just want you to self-report honestly where you're at, right? This is part of our ethos, trusting people. So if you're doing the scholarship application, you fill out the regular application and the scholarship application, both of them, right? So remember to submit those both. Scholarships apply to tuition. In addition to tuition, you need to budget for your travel, right? You're going to have to come to New York for the New Frame and to somewhere in the United States for the kickoff. And we're going to be announcing that soon. We're almost settled on that, probably in the US South or Southwest. And you'll need to pay for room and board for those intensives. We do not put you up in New York for the New Frame. You have to figure that out yourself. And we do set it up for the kickoff at the beginning of the year. So you'll be rooming with other people, although you can get a solo room as well. We provide lunches and snacks at those events and a dinner, and we keep you going during the workshop intensives. We also have several payment plans to help you map your year out financially. We have monthly and 3-pay plans, and you can see those on our website. We highly encourage you to ask for professional development funds from your employer if you have a good one. They are often willing to pitch in, and we encourage you also to look for government funding if you are not in the United States. If you're in the United States, our government might just be mad at you for doing something nice like this. People have gotten money from UK Arts Council, Canadian Arts Council. People have gotten money from organizations outside the US, from companies inside the US. This year, pretty much every year. Sometimes they cover it all. There are also personal loans or grants. We've offered letters of support for a lot of students in the past as they seek additional funding sources. And we just found out that in Canada, you can deduct this from your taxes and get a tax rebate in some particular way, because one of our students just realized that and shared that. Also, if you have a 529 plan in the US, depending on which state you're in, you may be able to apply it to this program if that money is still around. That's the disadvantage of older students. You might have spent it already. actually, before I get into this, we also have one other funding way of funding your program. We have 3 different work study positions. We have a work study special projects position, which is largely focused on our work for kids. It helps to be in person for that, so it's biased towards people who are in New York. We have work study program assistant who's kind of does a lot of community work with the community and helps us on a weekly basis run the program. And we have a work study events person, and the events person will set up an event. We did an event in Brazil last year. We're doing an event in Mexico this year. They bring us in, develop partnerships, and do an event in another country. And they also work on the new frame extensively. These are the 3 work study scholarships, work study positions, and they cover half tuition for the people who get those. So these are different. There's all these different ways of funding yourself to get through the program if funding is a challenge. So the accountability of this program. David is now about to fly to the master class. We're trying to figure out what the prize is for doing all of our programs. David's going to get that because he's now going to the master class next week. The accountability of this program has helped me fight through this process in a way I would not have stuck with on my own, showing me a new model for my own creative output. Yes.
What is the master class? Can you tell them? Because they may not know.
Oh, the master class, if you've heard about our experiences for an audience of 1, you could go join the masterclass and create one of those. Right now it's happening in Greece because, hey, where Odyssey works, it's our 25th anniversary. So like we went and I was like, guys, we gotta do it on Ithaca Island. I mean, and the movie's coming out. I mean, it was just all coming, but we couldn't find a spot on Ithaca Island to do it. So we're on an island, whose name I can't pronounce well, Zakynthos. Zakynthos, thank you, Servan. And they're there. There's 13. It's very hard. It's hard to get into because a lot of people want to go, and there's only 13 spots. But it's really an incredible experience. It happens basically every other year. I don't know if it will happen next year, but it may happen the following. Haley Jordan said this year has been one of significant disruption and liberation, unraveling the world that I knew. Disrupted and launched me out of purgatory. This program has helped me reframe my artistic and community practice and spurred new collaborations, introduced me to a diverse international community of practitioners. That's what we want you to say at the end of your time with us, or even in the middle. Victor Crenia said that participating in EDCP has been transformative, unlocking a deeper purpose. And this is something that's central to what we do, is we try, the thing about experience design is it's much broader than just one practice, right? It can be driven by your purpose, right? How do you make work that is purposeful, not just is that discipline? That's what we're interested in. We want you to have a life that involves making things that you care about, that when you're on your deathbed, you can say, well, I did this. This is the kind of work we're focused on. Right? Tyler Jones says he can confidently say that this project, In Solidarity, the Bethel Civil Rights Experience, would not have been a success without Odyssey Works, right? And there's a lot of that, but we didn't want to take too much time doing this. So applications are due September 14th. Our aim is to send out our rejections, acceptances, and wait listings by mid-October. After you get your acceptance, if you get accepted, you'll have a week to confirm your enrollment, right? So you should know by the time you're done whether you're serious about this. And waitlisted folks will know by the first week of November. We have to do it this quickly because we need everybody to know by December that what they're doing next year, right? Fortunately, we're small. Unfortunately, we're small. Fortunately, we're small. We can turn things around fast. Unfortunately, we're small. So we do everything, right? Our team is like in full force in the fall, running the new frame and going through these applications. And we really spend a lot of time on them. This is not pro forma. We need to make a group that is cohesive, powerful, and diverse. So there are three main takeaways, and these are the aims within all of our classes for the past several years, right? The first is transform your practice, right? We want you to walk away from us inspired to make an entirely new, entirely more meaningful way, right? We developed significant time to personal and professional practice sessions to help you better understand how you best work in order to create a sustainable, creative, professional practice for which you get paid. In the fall, we have professional practice panelists who come in and talk through this and you learn things about writing artist statements and grants and professionalization. We want to create a holistic balance of the financial and creative realms of being an experienced designer. Here's the second: transform your field, right? The people who come to us do so because something is lacking in the way they're making practice works, right? We've worked with religious groups, social good organizations, cybersecurity teams, immersive theater makers, Stanford D School, museum groups, artists, all of them. And they've all felt that the traditional ways they were taught to practice no longer fit this world. This world it's a crazy world right now. I don't know if you've noticed. Things are going off the rails. And the experienced designers are the people who are there to say, what is the world we want to actually make? How do we want to be doing? We can't do things the way we've been doing them anymore, right? How do we want to do them, right? So this program, which is intentionally outside the slow-moving behemoth of academia, is intended to help you become the agent of change in your field. And so that leads to the final aim of the program, which is to transform your life, right? Just as experience design supercharges a practice, it demands that a practice be focused on what is really meaningful for you. Some companies don't know exactly what experience design is, but they know it's something they probably need. Companies like IDEO and Meow Wolf are now beginning to hire experienced designers. That might be expected, but there's also architecture firms, immersive theater companies, religious organizations, nonprofits, and tech firms looking for this field, looking for this as well, right? We give you the technical chops of a boot camp like General Assembly, the conceptual chops of an MFA program, as well as a community of like-minded designers and a certificate you can put on your LinkedIn to validate your expertise on this emergent field. You also can put it on your wall because it's going to be beautiful. It always is. Every year's certificate is different, right? Over the past 25 years of our research, developing pioneer methods, we've codified an approach to experience design and led the public conversation of what this practice could be, right? And we've also built a community of experienced designers who are changing the way their fields work. Right? The certificate represents that to employers and collaborators. We are starting to be known for this now. People are starting to understand what this is and what we represent there. It is a means of indicating on your resume that your work carries a level of formal rigor paired with the very careful ethos that we've developed over these last 25 years, right? In the process of developing this program, we designed something that we ourselves wished, dreamed we could have attended. Right? We spoke with leaders at different companies, organizations, conferences, theater companies, artists to ask what they wanted to see in the field. And they all expressed that vision, that this vision is also what they were looking for, which is why we're honored to be in our 25th year. And we're so excited that we can keep going, contributing to the change we want to see in the world. So that's the program. We have a little bit of time. We have like 20 minutes if you want to stick around and have a conversation. What questions do you have? And welcome to people who are new. Hi, PK and others. Jump in. I know there was a lot of stuff going on in the chat, but I was unable to look at it. Siobhan, was there anything that we should reply to?
No, just people are so courteous. They're like, I have to go. Thank you for the time.
And simple. What do you think, Megan and Diego? Or Madison, what do you think? What's on your mind?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this program is more so for people who are in some kind of element of experience design or are in a position currently where they want to bring experience design back to where they are, rather than like someone who is looking for a job in experience design. Does that make sense?
I emphasize that, but there are plenty of people who are starting out trying to jump into a job in experience design as well. But most of the people have experience in the field, right? We don't aren't like
Right.
new to working life. You know what I mean? You've
Yes.
been doing something and you would like to do it in a different way. And there's I would say about a third of our folks are just like, I'm an artist and I want to professionalize in a way, right?
That said though, Abe, we do currently have a student who just kind of quit her job in like IT and like
Uh-huh.
coding and she's kind of high profile like in that field and has not worked at all professionally in experience design. But also experience design is actually like if you're a teacher, you're designing experience. It's
Totally.
it's hard to say like who isn't one, when you start to like absorb this mindset. But I do think that she's an example of someone who like genuinely was like never made money doing this kind of thing. Like coding is not
Totally.
making experiences. So I think
Yeah.
it is pretty varied.
I would say that it's about a third of people are totally switching careers. And then the rest are reworking the way they work.
Okay. That's helpful.
Who else wants to jump in?
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious about like because like for Megan and I, we're both very, very like young, fresh out of like undergrad and like have a very smart portfolio, I guess, of like doing immersive work and like theater specifically is what we do. So I guess it's like how much like experience before the program do you like people to have? Like I know like for like master's programs, they want you out in the field for at least like 3 years or something, like how do you see
Yeah,
that?
so one of the great things about running your own program is you don't have to follow their rules. While the majority of our students are a little older, we do have occasionally people who are fresh out of undergrad. We have, a few people in their mid to early 20s. Right now we have somebody who's like an artist, who's an environmental artist, and just the thing that got her in, right, was this passionate sense of like, oh, it could be different and I can't find it any other way, right? And clarity around that, like an ability to look at, okay, you did this stuff in school or you've done these other projects, right? And you've got a vision for how it might be totally different, right? I would say most of the younger people are artists or theater makers, now that I think about it. And it sounds like you as well. And so, for your application, what I would suggest is not just, show us the work you've done, but show us your dreams and visions, right? Show us that you can work hard, but show us also like how you think it could be different, right? How you think, what you would love to do. What's the dream, right? I was just having a conversation with a client who's filmmakers, and they're doing an activation. Really cool. They're like taking over an island and creating an experience of sound on the island, and really wonderful stuff. And one of them's in an MFA program, and she did a presentation, and nobody at the MFA program was able to even respond in an intelligent way to experience. And so then after that, the director of the program said to her, we need you to change. We need you to fix us. And she was like, that's a tall order, right? And so now she and I are saying, okay, how can we even rethink from the student perspective the way to change the way academia works, especially in critiques, right? It's such a formalized thing. I went to architecture school and I went to, I did an MFA as well. And, I know that world, and I used to teach in architecture school and graphic design school. Like, it's very fixed, traditional thing, right? Like, how do you change that? And if you've been frustrated that you think there's another way, lean into that, right? Like, what would the experience side of it? I think, the disadvantage of not having a lot of sort of work in the field needs to be counterbalanced with like the clear passion.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Who else?
Wesley's asking in the chat, what is the best way to come visit New York City for the New Frame in November? Is it one day, a weekend, a weekday?
Highly recommended that you come if you're thinking of coming to the program. Of course, it's after you'll be in the program. So, it's there may be, we haven't had anybody come and have buyer's remorse yet, but it's still good to check it out if you're coming. That is the Sunday before Thanksgiving in Greenpoint. Just put it on your calendar. New Frame. We haven't obviously opened up tickets yet because tickets gonna say the names of the projects, and people haven't even proposed the projects yet. But it's the Sunday before Thanksgiving, which is the third Thursday for non-Americans. Buyer's remorse is an experience, but not necessarily one you want. Which is the third Thursday in November. So it's basically the second or third Sunday in November, but you can look it up. Highly recommend you come, not just to experience it because it's awesome, but to meet your predecessors, to make connections with them, to meet people who are coming into the program. We usually have about a handful of incoming students at New Frame, and it's really, really helpful. Who else? What do you think, Ottolina?
No, I think it's awesome. I'm really happy that I was able to join this session because now everything got more clear in my head. But when you asked me what I was thinking, I was thinking about a funny thing, but I will say it now. Because you said about Arizona, right? That you guys are looking for a place in Arizona, and I have this friends collective there that is a art residency place, and it's called Grandmatopia. It's near, Grandmatopia. It's near Tucson, and it's really cute because it's all a collective of grandmas that built themselves this domes.
Grandmatopia.
Grandmatopia. It's an
Grandmatopia.
utopia of grandmothers and how they wanted
Can I
to
send my mother there?
Yes, but now all the grandmas died, and so now the grandchildren, which is my friend, is taking care of the residency and reframing it, and they're building more residency apartments, and it's in the middle of the desert. It's a really
Right.
special place. So when you said that you guys were looking for a place in Arizona, I thought about that, and I was like, should I tell them?
It's an amazing place where people try crazy things like that, which is part of the reason we want to find a really inspiring. We have our eye on a very inspiring location that will
Yeah.
inspire people about experience design, but also we want a warmer place.
Yes, Arizona
It was
is
very-
very warm. When I went
Yeah.
there, I almost died. It was crazy. And I'm Brazilian, so
And you're
that's
Brazilian, yeah. I want to go to Grandmatopia. Awesome. Thank you, Ottolina. I'm gonna look that up. Hey, Jackie, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that the unmute button is very hard to find.
Yes.
I was curious about, it sounds like this is really focused on folks who are looking to build a career in this space. And I'm, I guess, maybe in a slightly different place of feeling very burned out and cynical in my current career and just trying to find a artistic practice outside of that. And I don't know yet whether or not that's something that just becomes the thing I focus on in my free time, or if that's something I would actually try to make a career out of. And I'm curious if that feels like it's probably not quite the right fit. Understanding also that obviously that there's a lot of commitment involved in the program itself.
Yeah. Oh, Jackie, it's totally the right fit, right? You know, what we want to do, what we want to do for you is you know, give you the tools so that if you're trying to build this into a career, you can. But what we're really focused on is this way of working. That is the core of our ethos, right? This way of doing that is about experience and is about working from a point of view of what matters most to you. Look, experience design, what is it? It is designing the experience of others. That's impossible, but it is also kind of asymptotal. We sort of move towards it as a vanishing point, right? And you're creating the conditions in which another person can have a certain experience that you're longing for. Well, what is ethics? Ethics is considering the impact that you have on other people, if you want to sort of boil it down really simply, right? And in that, to that end, we are talking about an ethical way of being creative in the world. This is what we're talking about, and not ethics as a way of slapping people on the wrists and giving people a hard time about doing the right thing and doing the wrong thing, but as a way of driving your sense of purpose. And if that's through professional practice, great. We give but if it's not, if it's your side work, I think the woman that Siobhan was talking about, who's, you know, deeply burnt out in tech world, very successful, but no longer could do it. And she found this other passion of immersive work, of creating experiences, and came to us with very little, with nothing, essentially, with nothing but proposals and a lot of experience and a lot of passion. She's a perfect example. She's not like, oh, this is how I'm going to make a living. Maybe she will still do tech for a living. A lot of, you know, there's this question, we talked about this earlier on, about vocation, right? We want you to be working on your vocation here. Your vocation being like the core effect you want to have on the world. Is that your career? Possibly. If so, we want to help you. Is it something you get a job to support as well? Great. People have day jobs. A lot of writers have day jobs. You know, maybe you've already got the money. You don't need that anymore. Fantastic. We are really happy for you. The purpose is not about the money. The purpose is about a life where you're making the things that you feel ethically aligned. You know, I recommend taking a look at some of our alumni. Look through the website. You know, all the cohorts are listed there. Take a look at what they're doing, what they're up to. We have a few more minutes. Anybody else?
I'll be brave and ask a logistical question. For those who do have current employment, how many hours a week do you tend to? I see that it kind of ramps up and it's a really beautiful timeline that you presented. I wonder how much time per week you might expect to be able to book Mark for this.
So almost everybody has a job, by the way. Like there are maybe, you know, what do we have? Like 27 people in the program right now, and I would say 3 or 4 are not working or not working that much for various different reasons. There are some people who've, you know, made enough money and they don't have to work. Others who do. But most people have jobs. And what they do, we say it's 10 hours a week, and we check in with our students every year. We're like, was that number right? And they're like, well, it varies, but yes. We had a guy, was a government worker, worked at who's the chief of staff of the Department of Health in Rhode Island. But he had a vision. He had a vision for transforming people's lives through the arts in the state. And he was really clear about it. And he set aside 1 day a week. It was the class day. He worked on class day, took class. That was what he did. And sometimes found other time to work, but he was very clear about bracketing his time. Other people set aside a weekend day, something like that. I was just speaking with a theater maker. She does like a half day on on Monday, and then takes half day for class plus work on Tuesday. So that's a good kind of balance, but you work it out with your employer. A lot of employers, if they're on board, they'll sort of support it. Otherwise, people work out evenings. I don't know. We had our first year, we had a guy who had 5 kids and he was an engineer. I'm like, how are you doing this? But it's like you just structure it. You just structure it. It is intense. It is intense. Yeah. What do you think, Sarah?
Sorry, squeaking by at the end with a couple questions. This has been great, really helpful. These are also more logistical. I see applications open summer. Do you have an idea of when, just so I can make sure I'm
Oh,
have an
sorry.
eye out?
We're updating the website like tomorrow.
Yeah.
June 15th is when applications open, and they
Okay,
close
super.
September 14th. So they will be open very soon. Until then, if you want to get going, I'd recommend putting together your work samples and talking to references. We ask for references, and the people we're referencing are not there necessarily to tell us you do good work. We can figure that out based on what you give us, but they're there to tell us that you're a good collaborator. We're really, really focused on people being good in community.
Yeah.
So that we'll ask for a couple of references.
That's
So you might
helpful.
want to start talking to people about that. We don't ask for a resume per se, but we do ask for some narratives. It's a pretty simple application. We're not going to ask for a lot of paperwork.
Cool. And then I think I can guess some of the answer here related to like community and sort of depth of experience over time, but what would you say is the difference in what people are looking for and get out of the like 2-day workshops versus the whole cohort? And there's so many factors, financial availability, different reasons to make those choices, but what would you highlight as a couple kind of key similarities or differences?
Yeah, the 2-day workshops are super fun. Gives you a taste. Ali just did it with us in London. We get to know you. You get a flavor for how to work from the point of view of empathy. The program is much more rigorous. The 2-day workshop is pretty intense. I'll say, like I said, we don't do anything that's not intense, but the program goes through the methodology, all the language, all you need to know to work as an experienced designer in any field, and then builds you into a community, helps you develop those 2 portfolio projects so that you have something to show on the professional end, and integrates you into this cohort, maybe just for a year, but maybe for a lifetime, of people who are thinking and working this way. So you get collaborators, and you also publicly present your work. Some people, we can't get rid of them. They stick around forever. There were a number of people who came to the workshop in London that we did, who just have already done a bunch of times, did the certificate program, just kept coming. Really wonderful. Or you take the program, you move on. That's fine too. Not everybody can stick around forever. But the major difference is it's about a total life change. That's why we built it. Everything is sort of building up to it.
Awesome. Thanks.
Any last thoughts? We got 1 minute. Muito bom, Catalina?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for this 1 hour and a half. It was really good. Thanks for your time, and I'm really happy.
It's good to meet you. And you, everybody, good to see you again. Ali, nice to meet you. Madison, Sarah, Jackie, nice to meet you. Jessica and Alex, good to see you again. Alex and Ricky. Yeah. It's a good time. Hopefully a pivot time.
It sounds special. So thank you for sharing.
Where are you, Madison? Where are you located?
I'm in the DC area.
Cool.
Yeah.
We started in Baltimore.
Oh,
Actually.
cool. Yeah, I feel like Baltimore has a nice art scene, a beautiful art scene. So that makes sense.
Yeah, we have some community in the DC area, Virginia, DC, Maryland
Okay.
right now. Yeah,
Okay, very
it's a
cool.
thing. It's a thing. That's where our heart is, more
Yeah.
than Brooklyn even.
Wow. Okay, yeah, I would love to learn more about that sometime.
Yeah. What do you do? What do you do that brought you to this?
Yeah, so I have worked as a an innovation designer facilitator, and we do a lot of experience design, but it's not the forefront of our work.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, passionate about creating transformative spaces as a facilitator. And I think experience design is a perfect way to bring that in. I'm also a big community organizer in the environmental space and mutual aid. So I would love to bring experience design to that as well.
Yeah, you should. The work that Haley did in Baltimore,
Okay.
it would be really interesting to you, I imagine. There's a lot of community organizing, but she's a designer, but also a social designer. I think she's still teaching at Micah. But
Cool.
yeah, and there's Isabella is in DC, and she's a facilitator and has been designing it and is going to the master class next week. It's
Okay.
really, yeah, there's you would be in good company, Madison.
I would love to. And you said one of the names was Haley, and the other one's name is
Isabella Bruno.
Isabel.
Uh, she's really a fantastic facilitator, and Haley Jordan in DC in Baltimore, sorry, as a designer. But like that was I showed her project, which was the Joy Box.
Okay.
That was a community activation, right? Imagine that, planted and then causing moments of spontaneous joy amongst neighbors, right?
That's
She,
beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, so you're in a great neighborhood for us. We love
Hey.
And Madison,
Delmarva.
I can email you their Instagram handles too, so you don't have to do all the
Thank
all
you. That would be
that.
awesome. So I would love
Right?
to reach out to
Oh
them.
yeah, and Siobhan, you're a Marylander too.
I'm from Salisbury, but I went to
Yeah.
Towson. So
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
love that. Shout out
mhm.
Maryland.
Yes, we do love
No, it
Maryland.
doesn't get enough positive love.
It doesn't. It's underrated.
Good city, good
Thanks,
state.
Sarah.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody. It's so good to see you.
All right. Thanks.